Check, 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 you stupid idiots. What's up guys, Kyle here again, and today is Fackin' Friday. Actually, it's Wednesday, but in YouTube world, it's Fackin' Friday because I'm recording this 2 days before this video will actually air, and I'll already be on the road for 2 days, and I still can't talk. Hope that you guys are all doing great out there today as I am slowly slipping into madness. I'm actually filming this video the day before I leave for Bushido Code's little 10-day tour. So I've got a lot of stuff to do, and I told myself I was gonna take it easy and not film anything today, but gotta get the Fackin' Friday video done, man. And then I'm probably gonna film 2 more videos anyways, so fear not, even though I will be traveling, I will be editing and uploading videos on the road as well, so there will still be plenty of content to come, as well as me attempting to do a vlog style episode or 2 of the adventures on the road, if you guys are interested in that. So yeah, real quick before we get started, I am pushing super hard to get to 8,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and if you guys haven't heard the spiel already, if this is your first time here at my channel, my name is Kyle and I review all sorts of awesome high gain guitar amps and stuff like that. If you're a returning viewer and you have not yet subscribed, what the hell is holding you up, dude? Come on! No, but for real, if you are not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. It helps me out greatly. I would really appreciate it. 8,000 by the end of the year was a really steep goal at one point, and now we are like right on the cusp. So I need about 500 more subscribers in 3 weeks, and I definitely think we could do it as long as you guys are on board. I would greatly appreciate it. But if you think my videos suck, go ahead and give them a dislike too. All right, now that I am done begging you guys for support, let's get into your questions. Tim Wendelowski asks, what's your most memorable moment playing a show over the years? Being around hardcore since I was young, I've seen a lot from a crowd standpoint, but never in a band's view. Thank you very much for the comment and question, Tim. As far as the most memorable moment in a band situation for me, there are a couple that come to mind pretty quickly. I'll start off with number one. Number one was my band. I played drums in a band called Domestic War. It was a straight edge hardcore band back in 2008, 2007, 2008. I think that's when this show happened, 2008. But anyways, we played a pretty stacked show in Cleveland, Ohio. And when Domestic War was playing, man, we just had a penchant for violent shows as far as hardcore shows go. I mean, that's back when hardcore shows were still violent. Shows really started kind of getting toned down right around the time that I was really getting into hardcore, so I didn't even experience the most violent stuff by a long shot. But anyways, yeah, our band still, both my bands, Domestic War and Represent, both bands played that show, and the crowd was just getting wild. People were going crazy. I think somebody tore a projector off the ceiling, just acting like total idiots, as oftentimes younger hardcore kids did back in the day. Completely disrespecting the venue. I'm not looking back at this memory fondly. So anyways, Domestic War is playing, and some of the bouncers keep trying to beat up the kids that are having a good time. Our singer RJ kept telling the bouncers to basically knock it off before he came off stage and came after him. If you know RJ at all, he's a pretty intimidating guy, so the bouncers would kind of drop it, and then as soon as the kids would start dancing again and we were playing, the bouncers would start messing with the kids again, until finally RJ flew off the stage mid-song and pretty much punked the bouncers out. And people were going absolutely wild during that entire set. So as soon as we were done, we kind of did this thing a lot of the time where Domestic War would play, and then me and Brian and RJ were all in Domestic War at the time. We would literally switch instruments. RJ would go to drums for Represent, I would go to bass for Represent, Brian would go to guitar, he'd stay on guitar, and then Derrick, the singer of Represent, would jump up on stage and we would immediately play our next set. So as that's happening, Derrick is telling the crowd that there is a chance that the show might get shut down if people don't calm down a little bit. So he made everybody basically promise to behave, have a good time without disrespecting the venue, blah, blah, blah. So about 3 songs into the set, all of a sudden our power gets cut and a whole bunch of cops come into the venue and start making everybody leave. They're talking to people. We gather up all of our stuff and we try to get out of there as quickly as possible. As we get outside, cops are directing people everywhere. There's literally like 8 or 9 cop cars outside with a ton of cops telling people where to go, and I ended up getting separated from the rest of the band. So finally Derrick swings back around as I got sent to a gas station down the street. He grabs me as we're walking back past the venue to head to the van. A police officer grabs Derrick and asks him if he could step inside just to answer a few questions. Derrick says sure, goes inside. 5 minutes later, he comes out in handcuffs, gets put in the back of the cop car. RJ had already apparently been arrested and nobody knew about it, so the cops ended up taking Derrick and RJ to jail, where they spent a couple days. They both ended up facing charges for inciting a riot, which was complete bullshit. The whole thing was super, super messed up in my opinion. Not even really in my opinion, like not even in my opinion really. It was just a really crappy situation because RJ ended up facing misdemeanor charges and Derrick ended up going through a long drawn out court process in order to try and get the charges expunged because he is a teacher. Yeah, I mean, it's memorable for the wrong reasons, but memorable nonetheless. I guess runner-up for me would be our very first show in Europe, which was the next year, Derrick. I guess the runner-up to that moment would be our very next show. I guess the runner-up to that moment would be our first show in Europe, which was the next year. We flew out, played this massive hardcore festival called Pressure Fest, which for years and years was one of the biggest hardcore festivals in Europe. So the first day we played, we had an absolute killer set. I got to meet a lot of really cool people at that fest. It was honestly a really great experience. And towards the end of the day, Shattered Realm played. And they had been talking to us a little bit backstage and they said that they were gonna play a Fury of 5 cover. Well, at the time I was super into Fury of 5, which ironically, Derrick, the guitarist in Bushido Code, was also in Fury of 5. I didn't know him and he wasn't in the band at the time, but hardcore is kind of like a 6 degrees of separation type thing anyways. So yeah, anyways, I head up from our merch table when Shattered Realm starts playing. They start playing a Fury of 5 cover, and I don't even remember what song it was at the time. And the reason that I don't remember is because I literally took one step into the pit, got hit or kicked or something right square in the nose. I don't even remember what it was. It knocked me on my ass. It was like a flash KO type thing. And the next thing I remember, I'm on my butt and I stand up and all of a sudden I start bleeding everywhere. So I ended up getting my nose broken. And as I'm kind of walking down to the bathroom to try and clean myself up, like it really didn't hurt. And I'm not just saying that to be a tough guy. I am far from a tough guy. My nose didn't hurt. I didn't have a headache, like nothing hurt. I was just bleeding everywhere. So I was trying to get to the bathroom so I could wash my face and my clothes off and everything. And I get grabbed by one of the security guards, which the security guards for these festivals were literally part of I think a 1%er crew, like a motorcycle gang. And the dude grabbed me and he's just like, you come with me. And I was like, well, I'm trying to clean myself up. And he's like, no, you come with me. And he literally grabs me by the arm and starts walking me down the hallway to the medical tent of the festival. At which point Derrick kind of sees me and he's like, hey, what the heck's going on? And I'm like, I think I broke my nose, no big deal. They're gonna take a look at it. So I get down there and they force me to go to the hospital by myself. So I'm in Germany. I don't know how to speak German whatsoever. And I'm being told that I have to go to a German hospital without health insurance. Nobody is around me and they're not allowing me to go back inside to grab anybody to come with me. So I end up getting taken in an ambulance to a German hospital where they look at my nose. They said that I probably could have used stitches on it because there was a big cut, which is why it was bleeding so bad. But it was basically right on the edge of needing stitches, not needing stitches. And I'm like, well, I don't have health insurance. And they're like, okay, well, then we're not gonna give you stitches. So they taped it up with some medical tape. They told me that the cartilage in my nose was broken. My actual nose wasn't broken, but the cartilage inside had been broken, so it wasn't terrible. And they essentially just said that there's not really much we can do for you. And I said, okay, cool. Well, on that note, I am in Germany for the first time with my band. I have no idea where I'm staying tonight. I don't even know how to get a hold of anybody because this was 2009. Smartphones were not really a thing yet. And luckily for me, I had an iPod Touch. I was able to connect to the hospital's internet and send Derrick some text messages over T-Mobile's like internet texting thing that was like brand new. He just happened to have his cell phone on him and he said, what hospital are you at? I told them and they were coming to get me. I don't know where they were coming from, but I basically ended up having to leave the hospital and sit outside for like over an hour by myself in the middle of Germany. Had no idea where I was, had just busted my nose. I was starting to get a massive headache. I was scared shitless because I didn't know if I was in a good area of town or not. I don't know anything. I basically had no clue what was going on. Finally, there's a whole crew of guys that come around the corner looking for me as I'm sitting there. They grab me, they take me back, and yeah, for the first 3 weeks of tour, I had some serious raccoon eyes. My face was all swollen and puffy because I got hit in the face pretty hard. But yeah, I will never forget that situation for sure. It was a pretty interesting way to start the European tour, my first European tour, my first tour ever. And it was 2 months long. And the first 3 weeks I had to explain to everybody at every show why I had two black eyes and my face was all swollen. So yeah, pretty memorable. Maybe not the answers that you were looking for, but Those are the things that stick out in my mind. Until We Die Rocks asks, FAQ question, what's the best guitar choice for punk and hardcore style music? And why? Thank you for your question, man. I will answer this the way that I answer a lot of questions. It is completely up to the end user and what you like. In this category, there is absolutely no best, man. There is really no best. If you look at punk bands and hardcore bands throughout the years, I mean, hardcore bands generally will use some sort of humbucker loaded guitar for the most part, but punk bands use pretty much anything. You see punk bands using Fender Strats, Telecasters, Gibson Les Pauls, Gibson SGs, Gibson Juniors with the single coil P90 in it. I mean, you can really use, especially for punk, because punk, it's a little bit easier to get the guitar tone that you would have in mind because it's not as high gain. It doesn't need to be super tight and percussive, or it doesn't need to sound really big and saturated like in hardcore. You want the guitars to sound really mean. In punk, especially depending on what kind of style, you can get away with just about anything. So it really comes down to personal preference. And for hardcore, for a long, long time, I mean, from the late 90s all the way up until recently, every hardcore band that I saw was using like an ESP or LTD guitar of some sort. Those were pretty much like the gold standard. Unless they were older guys, it seemed like the older hardcore bands kind of came up on Les Pauls, so you would see Les Pauls all the time, Gibson Les Pauls. And then that kind of switched over to the ESP LTD thing as the more metal-oriented guitars started to become more popular because metalcore and everything was happening and those styles of guitars were really gaining popularity. But yeah, it's really up to you, man. Whatever you like, as long as you get the tone out of it, use it. There really is no best for punk or hardcore at all. It all comes down to what do you like, what feels the most comfortable, what gives you the tone that you're looking for, and yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Sorry, I know that's no help whatsoever. Master Shredder Harmonic Minor asks, how should I maintain the cleanliness of my amp? Dust is a major problem in my garage. Thank you for your question, man, and you comment on almost every single video that I post, so I really appreciate your support and viewership. Happy to have you as a part of the channel, man. As far as maintaining cleanliness of your amp, I just say clean it often. I don't know about you guys, I actually enjoy cleaning my gear. Wow, that sentence didn't sound right at all, did it? But no, really, like especially when I get a new piece of gear, if I get a piece of gear that's all dirty or something, I actually find kind of like comfort and joy of just taking a dirty, kind of crappy looking piece of gear and cleaning it up and making it look nice and shiny again. I don't know why, that's just the way I am. I'm really into car detailing as well, so like there's something kind of cathartic about like washing a car and then doing a full-on detail with like the clay bar and the strip wash and then, you know, polishing, all that stuff. Even though my cars aren't that nice, I just enjoy the process. I enjoy viewing the end result. And it's kind of the same with gear. Guitars are the same way. I used to buy beat up Gibsons all the time and try to restore them as best as I could and then flip them, because you'll find a lot of guitar or Gibsons, the nitro gets cloudy, it gets kind of scratched, and you can really very easily take that, clean it up, and make the guitar look close to new again after you clean all the hardware, all the patina off the hardware and stuff. Now, there are a couple of my guitars that I keep the patina on the hardware. I just kind of like the way that they look as is, and I just like to leave them. But for the most part, I really enjoy cleaning amps and stuff like that. So I would say if you don't like cleaning your amps, if you don't find joy in kind of like restoring your amp every now and then by taking it apart, cleaning the inside of it, cleaning the outside of it, make it look nice and new again, then I would just suggest getting some sort of amp cover when you're not playing it that will keep the dust from falling on it. Now, obviously, you'll still be spreading the dust all around every time you pull the amp cover back off, but that should keep dust from getting on all the knobs and in the little cracks and corners as much. You'll still need to clean your amp occasionally, but I would say just get some sort of protective cover for the amp that keeps the dust from getting into it. But otherwise, just clean it, man. Amps are sacred, and we should treat them as such. Todd Hahn asks, I know you're a fan of the Peavey XXX head, but have you ever tried any of the combo versions? Thank you very much for your question, Todd, and yes, everybody knows I'm a huge fan of the Peavey XXX series, and the combos are no exception there. I actually owned the 1220 watt XXX combo. I bought it for $200 years and years ago. Really kind of kicked myself for selling it at this point, because it's definitely an amp for 200 bucks that I would just like to turn into a whole separate head and then keep the XXX speakers, because I actually think that the XXX speakers are really good. But I did own it. I was a big fan of it. I actually almost liked it more than the head because for whatever reason, I'm not sure how much the circuit differs between the combo and the amp itself, but the combo seemed to have more of like a Marshall-y mid thing going on. Now everybody always kind of describes the XXX as being mid forward to begin with, and while I agree there's a way to dial it in that you can definitely get a scooped and kind of like a you know, more of a Mesa style tone with it, with the big low end and the spiky top end. But the combo itself just had a warmer mid-range. It wasn't quite as aggressive as the head, but I liked it for, you know, I liked it for that reason. It gave me a kind of a different flavor of something that I already loved. And if there's one thing that you guys probably know about me at this point is that I am the king of hoarding in excess. So if there is something just a little bit different about something like a 5150 that I already like, I literally have to talk myself out of it for a week in order to get rid of it, because I just love collecting things that I really enjoy, which is why I have so many 5150 variant amps. It's why I have all of the Ultra Series amps. It's why I have a whole bunch of Splons, because when I find something that I really dig, anytime that something comes up that's similar to it, I try to get my hands on it. I'm kind of like a collector or a hoarder disguised as a collector, I guess. So yeah, the XXX combos are really good. I have not played the 40 watt one, the EFX model. I would love to. Is there a 60 watt XXX combo? I think there's like a 60 watt and a 40 watt. I might be wrong, correct me on that. Believe it or not, somehow I don't know this. I don't pay a lot of attention to combo amps, to be 100% honest, because I don't personally find a use for them for my use case scenario. But I know that there is at least a 40 watt that has some built-in digital effects to it. I am waiting to find one for a good price. Like I got an Ultra 112, Peavey Ultra 112 combo earlier this year, and I got it for so cheap that I decided I'm just gonna hang on to it and eventually convert it into a head and separate speaker cab. If I can do the same with the XXX, like a 40 watt XXX combo for 200 bucks, I will absolutely do the same there. And then of course, if I can ever get my hands on one, I will be more than happy to give you guys a full-on review of it. But yeah, XXX combo, I had the 120 watt 212 version and thought it was awesome. Thought it was a really good sounding amp. Highly recommend it, especially if you want to grab it to turn it into a separate head and cab combo, because that combo itself was an open back, and you guys know how I feel about open backs for metal and stuff. They just lack the punch. The low end spreads out too much. You want to plug it into a dedicated sealed cabinet for the best results. All right, last question for today comes from my man and Patreon member, Ronnie Webster, and he asks, not sure if you've covered this in a previous Fackin' Friday or a video of its own, but my question is, have you checked out any of the Harley Benton cabs? I'm curious to see how they stack up in your opinion versus something also loaded with V30s, like a Mesa cab. Thank you for your question, Ronnie. I appreciate it, man. I have not gotten the chance to check out one of those Harley Benton cabs loaded with the V30s yet. I would really like to, because I would really like to be able to give you guys my honest opinion, and I would love to be able to recommend that to people for the budget cab videos that I do, or whenever people ask me, I would love to be able to recommend it to them, because it is an extremely well-priced cabinet. Even when you're buying it from Europe, shipping it to the US, it still comes in cheaper than a pair of vintage 30s by themselves. So I've heard the construction on them is not that robust, meaning like the corners probably aren't jointed to a point where if you dropped it that it would probably be easy to split it open. So a lot of people say that they're not super roadworthy and the Tolex is kind of meh. But in reality, if you're playing in your house, you're not gonna care about that stuff. You just want something with a good speaker that's gonna sound good. And I've heard nothing but good things about the Harley Benton cabs as far as the tone goes. Of course, they're gonna have the newer V30s. The V30 voicing did not change when they moved the V30 to China. It changed sometime around 2010. So there's a whole 10 years of Chinese V30s out there that are voiced more like the old ones. The newer ones are a little bit brighter and spikier, but if you spend a good amount of time breaking them in, they'll probably warm up for you a little bit. But I'm not gonna get into that whole debate now anyways. I will tell you that due to the grill cloth on the Harley Benton, it's probably already gonna be brighter than a Mesa cab. Mesa has the dipped jute grill cloth on the front of their cabs for a reason. It kind of rolls off some of the highs, makes the cab sound a little bit darker. And on a V30, the highs are already rolled off a little bit, so really it smooths that top end out quite a bit on the Mesa cab. The Mesa is also gonna be sealed airtight, so it's probably gonna be tighter overall than the Harley Benton. I'm sure that they don't go through rigid quality control standards and seal them tight and make sure that there's no air escaping. I'm sure they probably just throw them together, throw them in a box and sell them, because at that price point, there's really no room to be going through and like checking the measurements super closely and everything. So I would imagine that they sound fine. Most cabs with V30s in them sound decent. The construction does matter, but like I said, everybody that I've talked to and all the reviews that I've watched of people who know what they're talking about say that the Harley Benton cab sounds good. Will it be roadworthy? Probably not. But if you just need something to leave at a practice space or to jam on in your bedroom, it seems like really kind of a no-brainer at this point. So, with that being said, that's gonna do it for me today, guys. Thank you as always for your questions. I really appreciate you guys leaving these questions for me to answer. Always love interacting with you. Next week will be another viewers comments episode, but for the following week and the next Fackin' Friday episode, put your questions down below in the comments of this video. I actually said it right again. That was pretty good. Please, if you are not subscribed, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Help me get to 8,000 by the end of the year. I would very much appreciate it. Down in the description of this video are all my support links, including my Sweetwater affiliate link. Click that link, get yourself something nice from the fine folks at Sweetwater, and I get a little kickback. It greatly helps me out. Or consider becoming a member of my Patreon by visiting the link in the description for that, or becoming a member of the Belligerent Amateur community by joining my Discord server or my Facebook group, all linked down below in the description of this video. I am starting to have a panic attack because I am saying too many words in a row that are right, and I'm bound to mess something up soon. So Kyle here again. We'll see you guys next time. Bye!